What's going on, guys? Welcome to Tower Talk number 7. We got Blue Westlow versus the stream and N-Cooch chilling in the podcast today.
How's it going, everybody?
Guys, there's some stuff happening over the weekend. Does anybody want to explain?
Yep.
Thank God.
Some very, very interesting things going on. So there was actually a $1,000 PvP tournament. A lot of good teams faced off, and it was an absolute blast. Very competitive and entertaining matches for everybody to watch.
Mm-hmm. Definitely entertaining.
Everyone did a fantastic job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Extremely entertaining. So much so that just it really brings that sense of what the community can actually create for themselves without any tools from Bungie, because Bungie has made it very difficult to put this together, obviously, right? I mean, there was how many teams on the PlayStation side?
Oh, there were 300 something before pre-qualifiers, because what they did was they actually made everybody take part in a pre-qualifier that wasn't like a known team, because there's a lot of us in the community that kind of know our skills and know who's kind of established in the sweat community, I guess you could say. And so all of us kind of got to buy into the championship bracket, which was, my team. There was IM, BSK, Invigorate, all the teams that everybody knows of. So we kind of got a free buy, but everybody had to play their way through these pre-qualifying matches. It was probably a nightmare for them because a lot of them, didn't have skill-based matchmaking to help themselves out, because some teams could have had a 2.5 KD and they had to match up with people maybe that had 1 KDs across the board. That was probably a nightmare for them to match up. I can't even imagine. Probably took them hours just to find one matchup. Luckily enough for us, though, in the championship bracket, a lot of us were very evenly skilled, and so matchmaking literally only took one attempt and we were able to find each other.
Yeah, I noticed that with like the semifinals and the finals, you guys were able to sync up really fast, and that is interesting how the matchmaking side or the skill-based matchmaking is so prevalent when you see it like that.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but I guess they implemented it. I mean, that's proof right there.
Yeah, they're kind of they're like, oh yeah, we did some stuff behind the scenes, and no, it's pretty obvious. It is heavily skill-based matchmaking right now in the current Crucible matchmaking. So how many matches did you play actually, or how many teams did you play?
We ended up playing, I believe, 7 teams, because there was 7 rounds in total. So we played 7 different teams, about 20 matches total, and it lasted, I think, 10 hours, 11 hours before the tournament was over for us. So we didn't eat too much. We didn't, it was difficult. We stayed up and kind of grinded all day. When we got to quarterfinals, semifinals, those were all played back to back to back. So very intense.
What kind of loadouts did you predominantly see in the 7 teams? I mean, we know what Bomb Squad Kittens was going for.
Oh yeah, they all had the exact same thing. Well, mainly in sweats and in tournaments, everybody either uses 2 things: a last word and a sniper, or the thorn and a shotgun. Year 1 weapons and year 2 weapons were allowed, so some setups were a little bit annoying to deal with because some people had a thorn, Fellwinter. Obviously, a lot of people know of the Fellwinter's lie. Quite the sniper of a shotgun, and it was difficult to counter. My last word didn't hold up too well against them, but those were pretty much dominant throughout the tournament. I didn't see anybody else using Might and multi-tool or anything like that.
Interesting, yeah.
So just those.
In your opinion, if someone came up to you and was like, hey, N-Cooch, I want to enter the tournament, why should I choose the last sword or the thorn over the multi-tool? We all know the multi-tool is good, but what would you tell that person?
Yeah.
If they want to use a multi-tool?
Okay, well, I would say that the thorn and last word are both very strong weapons in their specific areas. I mean, Thorn's pretty good all across the board, and I do think it's a little overpowered, but in terms of the last word, I don't believe so. It has a very powerful damage output in its effective range. You can't kill people from medium range with it. It takes full magazine to do so. I know that because I've been using the weapon since year 1, and it's pretty balanced now. I feel it's okay after they nerfed it and fixed the glitch that it had from year one, where it was doing hip fire bonus damage when you were aiming in the weapon. That was terrible to deal with, but that's fixed now. I feel like it's more balanced. But the Thorn, the range on it is a little bit questionable. Crazy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people. Yeah, I don't think it's so much to do with the burn anymore. I think they fixed the burn pretty well, but in terms of the range of the weapon, it's a little bit ridiculous. I'd like to see some kind of damage drop off, because recently I actually saw a video comparing pulse rifles, scouts, and the Thorn. And believe it or not, the Thorn actually does better than the Red Death, some scout rifles even at very long ranges.
That's
so
crazy.
That's not normal by any means.
That's crazy.
What do you think of the Thorn being a 3-shot to the body?
The only way that you can get away from 3-shot in the body is if you're a Titan with max armor, but how many people are really running that kind of setup? I do think it's a little bit unfair, because somebody can just quickly 3-tap you, they can turn around a corner, and they really didn't aim for the head. It doesn't take too much skill. So I do think that is an issue. One thing that somebody suggested to me a while ago was that if they were going to nerf the Thorn, a good nerf would be only proc the damage over time, the burn, if it's a headshot. So body shots would not trigger burn. I personally think that's
a good try,
something they could look into, but
why not?
They'd have to definitely check that out. I can't really say anything about that. Not a Crucible dev.
Totally. That's understandable. We talked about the Thorn, we talked the last word. Do you think from these matches that you played yesterday, do you think that the multi-tool would have stood a chance against any of the teams?
No. It can't, because the Thorn can beat it at practically any range, unless you're talking very, very far range, which doesn't happen in these types of tournaments, because teams are playing very, very close together. The only time you're going to find a team separated is when there's less people alive on the other team and you're going for a pinch where you're separating and you're going to collapse on the person. And when that happens, the Mida tool, it's not going to beat 2-3 guys. And at a very far range where it is very accurate and hard to beat it, a sniper's going to beat it. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's like that it's just, multi-tool has always been like that kind of jack of all trades type thing, where it's always been good at every range. But in the meta right now, Last Word's amazing at close range. We got shotguns. Thorn outplays it at longer ranges. And at the longest ranges, you got snipers. So if you just use a proper setup, you really don't have an issue with challenging Mida multi-tool users. So
yeah.
But everything else is kind of in a good place right now. The
better.
only issue is that the Thorn can compete with weapons from completely different classes, like scouts, pulse rifles. That's the only problem right now, in my opinion.
So
I feel like instead of damage over time, I think they should take out damage over time altogether in the Crucible. And honestly, they should apply that hunted perk on Thorn. So if you could use Thorn and get hunted every time you hit somebody with it, because that's honestly one of the biggest things, is that you can see where they're bleeding, and obviously takes them out of their recovery, so it makes the fights go longer. I feel like that would fix quite a bit and still make it a pretty powerful and exotic weapon. Every time you hit somebody with it, you know where they're going, because they're hunted.
that would make fire bolts a lot less annoying too, because as a warlock, I think fire bolts right now are too crazy.
It's like armor lock and reach. When somebody armor locks, they pretty much extend the time that it takes for them to die. And if you're going up against good players, they basically put a pause on their death, because a good player is going to back up, wait for their armor lock to go away, and then kill them with like a sticky, or be prepared to take them out. So it's the same type of thing where you're just delaying a death or making these encounters go for even further time. In the Crucible, it's not in a good spot. It needs to be taken out, at least in a competitive sense. Like maybe casual, it's fine to have burn over time, but if there was ever a ranked playlist, I feel like damage over time
I think
shouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I think what's gonna happen as well is that these tournaments are still super new. These are just the first few tournaments that have gotten a lot of attention. I'm sure as time goes on, they're gonna ask people. Yeah,
these are like this is like the pre-alpha.
Yeah, they're gonna ask people like Enkuch, they're gonna ask people like Triple, they're gonna ask people like Lumi, they're gonna ask all these people who compete. hey, what do you guys think about us putting certain restraints, like making sure this gun can't be used, these abilities can't be used, and it's gonna happen. Whoever says it's not gonna happen, that you're crazy, because in order to be in a competitive sense, you have to put limits on certain things. So they're most likely going to remove the thorn. Mark my words, you're going to make sure in the future thorn's not abusable if it has burn. I think that's what's gonna happen, in my opinion.
Well, there was limits. There was limits in this tournament, right? Can we explain those actually? Because like I'm sure some people don't know what the limits were for this tournament.
Let's start with the basic stuff. There were things like you cannot use heavy ammo at all. You have to leave it there. Don't even pick it up. That's kind of a given. There's also rules that are a little bit more advanced, such as you can only have one specific subclass per team. Reason for that being is that some subclasses, as you guys know, are better than others. Some of the ones that are very good are the Sunsinger, Sunbreaker, stuff like that. That rule's there to kind of prevent people from running 3 Sunsingers. You can imagine what 3 Firebolts can do to you.
Oh man, triple Night Stalker, Shade Step Shoddy. Oh god,
it makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Having the 3 subclass rule, it's very similar to other FPS games like Call of Duty. You know how they have pick and ban system, and they have to pick a specific super that they want to use. Similar to League of Legends, Dota, you can only use one specific character. Yeah, so that gives variety in the whole competitive scene, and that kind of makes everybody have to adapt to different play styles, because if I'm using a Blade Dancer for example, and the other team has a Striker, that completely changes what I have to do in terms of how I play. I was playing against I remember, and Fable on the other team had a Striker. Terrible for me. I didn't end up getting a single super kill in I think 3 games because he was stopping me every single time. So having these multiple subclasses and variety really makes people adapt to different play styles and kind of brings out the competitive nature in Destiny, I think. There were a few other rules, such as you can't have max armor Titans. That one some people didn't really agree with, because that's kind of a natural ability that the Titan has, which is more armor than other subclasses. The main reason people wanted that out in total was because you could survive three taps of Thorn. Obviously, a lot of people using the Thorn in the tournament, they didn't like that, so they got rid of that. And there were a few other rules, but those are kind of, those are the main ones that people have to worry about.
And to talk about the rule you said about the 1 class per team subclass, were you allowed to say, for example, and could say you, Blue, and I are on a team, you're using Blade Dancer, I'm using Gunslinger. Could we be like, all right, this round switch. Now I'm using Blade Dancer using Gunslinger. Can you do that, or you have to stick with that for the entire?
For sure. No. You can switch whenever you want. It's just you cannot use 2 of the same subclasses at the same time. The only subclass that really wasn't used in the tournament was the Bubble, the Defender Titan. Maybe they could buff that somehow in the future, but for tournament play right now in Sweats, nobody uses that.
But when the day comes, custom matches come, it's not going to just be skirmish and salvage. They're going to add modes, I'm sure, like zone control and stuff like that, where the bubbles are going to become useful. You know what I mean? Like to be played defensively. So when those modes come into play for these tournaments, that's when a lot of the more varieties are coming up for these classes, which I'm looking forward to. So that should be cool.
Speaking of that, so they had salvage and skirmish, and was that so that they could have better matchmaking, where they split those up?
So the reason why everybody searches in classic 3v3 is because there's just generally less people playing in that game mode as opposed to skirmish. If you search skirmish, it'd be a lot harder to find your opponents. And one of the rules also was, if you did end up playing salvage, you can't cap any of the zones at all. So if you did, you were DQ'd out of the tournament. Okay. Skirmish was really the only thing you can do. The whole tournament was just based off play skirmish. The team that outslays the other, out revives, gets more points, wins. Salvage kind of interfered with that, so they didn't allow it to be played.
Right. I mean, and that makes total sense.
Was there any word of any teams actually capping at all, by any chance? Okay.
No, I don't think so. No, everybody knew what they were doing, so I don't think that happened.
Everyone would know who it was. They would know.
Yeah, there was one time where I was actually reviving somebody, and I didn't realize the salvage zone was right, like I was standing right on it, and it got to about 75%, and I realized, I was like, get out of there. It was really close.
It also gives away your location, too. So another thing, too, explain the revive game for people, because that was a very important tactic or tool that needed to be used, but both team shots and revives, because of the point system win these matches. Was there any specific strategies for you guys?
Playing skirmish, it seems like one of those game types where people can go into and they can perform as best as they can. They're going to win. But that's not really the case. Revives and team shots play a very, very key role in deciding who wins. Because, for example, there was one game I actually played last week. It was me and my 2 teammates. We all got above a 1 KD. Every single one of us. I believe we had a 1.38, a 1.23, and just a 1 KD on the dot. The other team went very, very negative, and they ended up beating us by 50 points. So that just goes to show that team shots and revives are a huge part of skirmish. Generally, for me, I go for a revive whenever I don't see anybody on the radar, and whoever's on the ground dead waiting to be rezzed, it's their job to see if anybody's going for the spawn snipe. That's how we do revives.
Okay.
In terms of team shots, a lot of people use the Thorn because the damage over time doesn't give their shields back, and because of that, they can get assist medals, which obviously increases the score quite a bit.
Yeah, at 50 points.
So that was-
like a base kill is 100.
Yeah.
If you always get team shots, then you get a half kill every time you get a kill with that. If you're doing team shots.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a huge part of the game, and a lot of people don't actually realize that.
Mm-hmm. And the revives are a half kill essentially as well. So if you get a revive, you're guaranteed half a kill.
It takes a lot to know, when to get a kill and back off, let them get the res, because if they, get the res and your kill as well, that's a lot of points that you're giving away.
Mm-hmm.
Very tactical game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say for like the next tournament that you plan on entering, are there anything you would change? Like anything in the tournaments you would want changed for the next one?
Honestly, overall, I think the tournament was pretty good in terms of how it was set up, the rules, the brackets, everything was really good. There was only one thing that I was actually very annoyed with, and that was our semifinal matchup. We ran into a team called It Had to Be Us. Obviously, a very talented team. They were in the semifinals. That speaks for itself. But they were using invis nades every single match. In sweats, I play pretty much every single night for hours upon hours. I play multiple different teams, teams that are unheard of, teams that everybody knows. And I've never, ever seen anybody use invis nades. And that's mostly because everybody knows it's one of those cheap things, so they just don't bother using it. But this team actually used it, and we were kind of left in the dark. We had no idea what was going on because it's kind of like a gentleman's agreement, It's like, you're not going to use this, you're not going to use that. And it was weird. So if I were to host one, I think I would ban that for the next tournament. It's just going invisible for a grenade. I feel like that's just, it's not right. I feel like it's overpowered.
It's totally understandable, especially with those nades. You can make your entire team invisible, right? You can make all 3 of you guys.
Yeah, yep, they were doing that. They were throwing it on the ground. I mean, it's definitely smart, but you can max out your discipline and get that grenade back every 35 seconds. So
and your whole team going invis too, you get +3, right off the bat, and then every 5 seconds, all right, I'll do another one. Our whole team's invisible again. You could keep spamming it. That's definitely
I can see it being banned.
Definitely over the top, especially with
it.
competitive where no one really expects that. So I guess it's like technically anti-meta, but
that threw us off because we went from such a fast, aggressive pace to, sitting back, waiting, hard scoping with our snipers, trying to figure out if that was a shadow or if that was somebody walking by. So it definitely changed up our playstyle before the finals match. And I think that's the main reason why when we went into our final match, we had a little bit of trouble. We had to adapt to, that really quick, aggressive style after playing, 6 matches of that slow sitting back, sniping, waiting for invis nades to just run out.
Both of you guys are just trying to get in each other's face. So those are more fun to me. In my opinion, those are more enjoyable for me to watch because I'm the guy who likes to play aggressive as well. So I'm not the kind of guy who likes to sit and wait. So it's more fun. It's really nice to see both teams want to just get straight into it, pick each other off, make the good plays, and just make everyone just go wow. You know what I mean? I love those, and that's what happened at finals.
One thing that a lot of people kind of said was, they like the pulse rifle meta a lot better, but even though it was maybe a little bit more fair when the Thorn and Last Word weren't around, the matches were a lot slower. People don't see that because I don't think there was a single tournament when the pulse rifle meta was around. But every single sweat match that we played, it was a very, very slow kind of match all the time. And, if that was a tournament, I don't think people would enjoy it as much, honestly. The Thorn and Last Word, even though they are very powerful, they make for some great action. I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's an interesting viewpoint, because like that was one of my questions: is would you want to see exotics taken out of the tournament for your weapons? And I mean, judging by the answer, obviously no, because the action gets toned down.
The thing with exotics is, in some cases, they're more fair than legendary weapons, because you could have different roles and perks on legendaries, right? But if you have 3 thorns going against 3 thorns, and let's say all of you are, just for figure of speech here, all of you are Sunsingers, that would be a completely fair match. You know what I mean? It would be 100% skill. So whoever wins that match, it's just purely based on skill and nothing else.
That's
but
true.
For a sniper battle, let's say, if I'm using my god roll, 1,000-yard stare, it has hidden hand, snapshot, short gaze, practically everything you want in a sniper, against somebody who's using, let's say, the same sniper but with no good perks on it, they can complain, and some people might be like, oh, that's not fair. So that's one thing you have to look at as well. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here.
That's good.
But,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to see
That's
it.
nuts. It's very interesting.
I mean, that's an amazing point. And you know what you're going against when you go against exotics. And I think that's a big problem. That's always been a big problem with legendary rolls, and I think that's why they took out the ability to give just straight up perfect rolls all the time back in House of Wolves. And now you got to work for a legendary roll. Like, it's just kind of like RNG, but because of how RNG it is, it's like, well, most people don't have god rolls on their specific guns, and you're not always going to get a god roll on a specific gun. You might for like one gun. And then say another meta pops up, you're going to have to get a whole nother god roll. With exotics, you get the same thing. You know what you're going against.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have only had maybe 1 or 2 1,000-yard stairs drop for the Taken King so far. So it's been very difficult to find a perfect.
For the people that can't play a lot either, there's some people go to work every single day and they come home. They can sometimes only play on the weekends. It's almost not fair, kind of making them grind and leaving it up to RNG sometimes. So.
Yeah, you don't want
Absolutely.
that coming back to you, but I didn't go in the tournament because I didn't get a good roll for it. So yeah, they can win this one. Like, you don't want stuff like that happening too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got to say, watching the teams, like the biggest ingredient was communication and teamwork. Like you could have the perfect everything, but the communication and teamwork is really what made things count. Because like you said, like the team shots counting for those extra points, getting the revives, and also getting revives when they were safe and not dangerous revives.
That's a huge part of the game as well, because, for example, BSK, my team as well. Well, my team hasn't been playing with each other as long as BSK have. They have been playing for God knows how long. I think probably 8 months together. So, they deserve to be the champs. They've been playing for so long. They know exactly what each member of the fire team is doing. And, they had just a great amount of communication.
You guys are fucking incredible, too.
My team has been playing
just
for...
to throw you off for a second, you guys did incredible for a team that was just formed recently. I think you guys did a fan-fucking-tastic job, so GG on that, man.
Yeah. We're learning. We're slowly getting more confident with each other. We trust each other's actions a little bit more, and that's something you really have to pay attention to, because if you don't trust somebody on your team to go big when it counts, and you have that doubt, you might make a bad call or a bad decision during the game that can really bite you. So
what would we like to see Bungie do about these tournaments?
We already know.
Like, if Bungie said,
I think we all
we
know.
already know.
We know.
I know, we already
They
know,
need to do
but
to
like,
start,
let's just have a quick talk about it. Like,
while we don't have private matches, do something similar to the Red Bull thing. Remember, and Coach was part of this. The Red Bull tournament they had when they were showing new stuff from TTK. Invest in that. Red Bull obviously shows interest in Destiny. They're waiting for Bungie to just go hey, let's go full force. And I think it'll work. I think it'll be nice for Bungie and Red Bull and whoever else wants to sponsor it to be like, hey, let's get like a nice community tournament going on. Maybe let's have an event in this state where we can have all these hundreds of teams come by for like one giant weekend. Everyone does like their qualifying rounds, all this cool stuff, and just do a really cool giant tournament. In the meantime, of course, waiting for the private match to go on. That's something to put in a lot of people's eyes to make it more noticeable. But of course, we want private matches. We all want private matches for more reasons than just competitive play. But this is something that it's proven. Like, when was the last time a Destiny event got people this excited and got people on Twitch specifically watching one channel?
Probably back. It's all the way back in the raid.
Exactly. And like you're having people with like crazy amount of views that and it's because of this excitement, this buildup of the community coming together and doing something that Bungie didn't make us do. You know what I mean? Like, it's the community itself created all this. And I think Bungie would be really, really, really dumb to not take notice of this and take advantage of it, because they have something really good.
How many people were watching on Twitch?
I don't know the exact numbers, but people like Encourage, I know Encourage was sitting at 2,000-3,000 views on his channel alone. Lumi with 5,000 to 6,000. So it's like to see them like with those amount of views with just them alone, and like they're the ones leading the game on the directory. That's pretty fucking incredible because of this tournament. You know what I mean? Like them and what they're doing that entire day, and it's really fucking cool. And it's like that'll
It obviously
that's
put a
amazing.
lot of interest. It obviously put a lot of interest in not just people from the community to come back to the directory after probably being burnt out, but obviously new people from Twitch are coming around, because it's not like you just go from a directory of maybe like 4,000 people at a time to a directory of 10,000 people watching. You know, so it's a big reason for people to watch. People obviously love Destiny, so if they love Destiny, then they're gonna love Destiny events. Someone's doing a PvP event, holy shit, I need to watch that, you know? So I think PvP in general just needs a lot more love, because when you start looking at everything else except for PvP, you start seeing how much like love and like care and attention go into it. I mean, the raid is obviously a big factor in this, and PvE in general just gets a lot more time and attention than I think PvP does, because a lot of the time I think PvP feels slapped together. So I think Bungie just needs to pay attention to PvP more. People are like clawing at them, like, hey, notice us, like we want to play your PvP, like let us do stuff with it. Yeah, and just make it a separate experience and make it a standalone thing that works, because people want it to work, and right now Bungie hasn't done a whole lot to make it work for these people.
And I appreciate them trying to balance things from PvE to PvP, but it's also okay to have these separate modes that aren't, you have your cool casual fun time modes where everything from PvE is PvP, but also have these set of modes where it's straight competitive, because no matter how big or small you have of a community for each thing, that community is still there. You don't want to ignore them completely.
Yeah. And Cooch, what do you think Bungie should do? If you were, in control of Bungie and they could actually do something before adding private matches?
Well, I definitely do agree with the Red Bull event thing. I think that would be absolutely awesome to do, especially considering how well the first one did. There was really no promotion of that one at all. I can't remember. Do you guys remember how many views that ended up getting?
Pretty good amount. I remember. All I remember is comments of people sarcastically saying, "People still watch Destiny?" Like that. I just know that when people say that, it's good.
Wasn't it like 20,000 people
for an event that literally happened
out of nowhere.
It was maybe several days before at best.
Yeah.
It got a pretty good turnout.
I didn't get notice. We didn't get notice of the event until like a week, 2 weeks beforehand. So, but in terms of until private matches, it's hard to say what they can do, because everything that revolves around these tournaments and these competitive games require you to have that type of LAN experience or that private match experience. So, one thing they can do now, or focus more, I guess, of their resources on, is Bungie.net clans. When you sign up for a group, you kind of look like an elitist, and all you have is a clan tag underneath your name, right? Why can't they give us more incentive to kind of join these groups? Maybe why can't they give us some kind of aesthetic things, such as custom like clan tags, or maybe emblems, stuff like
That'd be
that?
cool.
Why
Like
can't we have that
like
for
Battlefield has custom
our entire
emblems.
exactly? Yeah. Why can't we have stuff like that? Or maybe give us some kind of like ranking for our clan, or some kind of leaderboards. There's a lot of things they can do. I just feel like clans right now on Bungie.net is so like it's in its early stages. It seems like
totally
it's
early stages.
Yeah.
You really need to be able to invite your clan members into a game from that interface.
Yeah.
Like you don't, it'd be awesome if like you have your friends and then you have your clan list. So you can actually see your, that's what I'm saying. Put it in game. So you have your fire team, your friends, and then your clan list that you can actually invite people from.
That'd be really
That
good.
would be awesome.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
And you know what? They could even have clan versus clan before private matches come out. Maybe they could have some kind of maybe they could have some kind of matchmaking right now where a clan can match up with another clan. You can set it up on Bungie.net, and then you'd go into the game and you guys would match somehow. Maybe they could introduce something like that before private matches.
Or even do it like this. Do it like how they did. Remember how Sparrow Racing? You put 6 people in there, go to like a clan mode, and then get all 6 people in.
That's right.
Boom, and then
Oh, and that would still require matchmaking.
If you're in the same clan, it puts you on the same team. Like it splits you guys up based off who clan you're in.
That's very smart, actually. They can definitely do that.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily need to make a private match, but you have something that works at least.
Yeah, for now at least. The Sparrow system.
For now,
they use for Sparrow Racing. Use that system.
So I think that's the podcast. What you guys think? Yeah.
Wow.
Episode 7.
Quote unquote 7.
Private matches,
7
please.
plus. 7S.
Bungie, please. Yeah, 7S. It's the 7S
This
episode.
episode 7S. It's just a joke we get. Episode 7S.
Thank you so much for listening to episode number 7S on Tower Talk. You guys are all awesome. You can find me or talk to me on Twitter at Teft, twitter.com/Teft. And you can also catch the Planet Destiny streams that I do, twitch.tv/planet_destiny, and my own personal channel as well, twitch.tv/TeftyTeft.
And if you want to talk to me on Twitter, feel free to at me at @versusthestream, twitter.com/VERSUSthestream. Go ahead and check me out on Planet Destiny on the weekends at planet_destiny. That's the Twitch channel. And check out my own personal Twitch channel at twitch.tv/versusthestream.
And you can find me everywhere at Blue Westlow, twitter.com/Blue Westlow, twitch.tv/Blue Westlow, and pretty much never on youtube.com/Blue Westlow.
Thank you, Planet Destiny, for having me on your show. Greatly appreciate it. If any of you guys want to check out my YouTube channel, you can find me at NCoochDestiny. You can also find me streaming on Twitch and also at Twitter at NCoochGaming. Thank you guys once again for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Bungie private servers, private matches.
Private matches.
Private matches.